So banks are closing branches. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because I want to have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance about, major banks closing branches. 37 bank branches are closed. Now, here's the thing. When's the last time you've actually gone into a bank? Now, I can remember it because I borrowed some cash off my daughter from her piggyback, so she made sure I went into the bank to actually withdraw money to give to her. It's very rare that I actually go into the bank. How often do you go into a branch? Now, it doesn't mean we don't want them, but I can appreciate why the banks don't need as many. And that's interesting from just a commercial real estate point of view, because often, buying a property that had a bank in it was pretty much a guaranteed, a license to print money. So, 3 of Australia's big 4 banks have moved to close another 37 branches across the country in coming months. And I think if anything, the whole COVID, lockdowns, working from home, getting used to working remotely, probably some people may have been forced to actually online bank and pay bills, is just going to exacerbate this. The Financial Sector Union said the closing down of bank branches had reached a crisis point and said the government must intervene. So once again, unionists wanting the government to intervene. Now, I would argue if these banks want to close branches, let them do it. There'll be another bank that'll swoop in and hopefully provide a service that fills that need. And you're always going to have people advocate. You've got, the Citizens Party advocating for an Australia Post Bank. There's another option. So, let the market find a solution. This latest list of closures means the big 4 banks have closed more than 550 bank branches across Australia since January 2020. FSU National Secretary Gillian Angrisonia said, "We must act to stop the banks walking away from communities in our suburbs and towns. It's time to examine the impact of these closures, which have hit hundreds of communities across the country." And Grisanio said, "For decades, the major banks have been supported by the government as part of the 4 Pillars policy, but have failed to support local communities in return." It's not about supporting local communities. It's about pumping the housing market. Maybe I'm just getting too cynical. What do you reckon? Instead, the banks continue to shut down branches, sack workers, and turn their backs on customers and businesses. Cost savings from branch closures are designed to increase the bank's already huge profits. Well, if you want a share of those profits, you invest in the banks, you buy shares in them. Many Australians do own shares in the banks, either directly or via super funds. The big 4 are said to be too big to fail and have enjoyed government guarantees in the past, but they are not too big to regulate when it comes to the branch network. Westpac is set to close 24 branches, CBA is closing 5, and NAB is set to close 8. And Grisano said the closures would result in the loss of 182 jobs. We're listening to a unionist perspective here. So they need to advocate for anything to ensure that they remain relevant in this day and age to get members so they can get their dues. So that's the perspective we're seeing here. Now, and I'm sure there are going to be some people that need to bank at a branch and just haven't adapted to using modern technology, and this is going to frustrate them because they may have to travel further or they may be older. And honestly, I don't even use ATMs anymore, guys. When the rare instances when I need to get cash, I'll go into a bank. Now, I advocate for ensuring cash is not banned, that people need to be able to have access to cash because that's a fail-safe for when people are debanked. But it doesn't mean I find it convenient to carry around cash and use it. I like my tapping and all of that stuff. Psychologically, it's probably smarter if I paid for everything in cash. I've just recently discovered Amazon Prime, and ever since petrol was costing $2, I thought, you know what, if I buy this online, get it delivered for free, it's probably going to be cheaper or the same cost, and I don't waste time driving and going shopping. But anyway, there is some advantage to paying for things in cash. if you're trying to get a stranglehold on your budget and your spending. And that's going to be harder for people who don't have access to a bank branch. But then again, you can still go to, can't you go to a shop, Coles or Woolies, and get money out there when you're shopping as well? At least that's what I used to do back in the day. Do people still do that? Communities depend on the banks to deliver financial services. But if we don't stop the current trend, there'll be no branches left, she said. Well, I mean, here's another thing. I was talking to a viewer, reached out and said if I could recommend a broker, a mortgage broker. And there's one gentleman who's been a supporter of the channel, so I put the two of them together. But, well, the viewer's in one state and the broker's in another state. And I was talking to the broker and he was saying, well, it's all changed now. We're allowed to we can have the communication online. You can visually check the identification as a passport, and all of these other things. So we've moved to a system where, you can do more work remotely, which is in some ways really good because it increases competition. But it's always also bad because it increases competition. So the banks notify the FSU about upcoming closures. In this case, 2 bank branches are being withdrawn from the same location in Cornwall, New South Wales. Imagine the impact of losing 2 more banks in the same suburb. So, Angraziano, I'm butchering that name, I'm sorry, said self-regulation had not worked and added that the Australian Banking Association's commitment to consulting the community about proposed branch closures was being ignored. We need an inquiry into bank branch closures to assess the impact on local communities when the bank pulls out of the suburbs and towns, she said. I think the biggest impact will be the loss of jobs. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. The UK has a formal community impact assessment test, and we need a similar test to ring fence our branches and make sure banking services and the public which they derive their profit from. What? Banking services the public, which they derive their profit from. Well, yeah, it does. You're not going to bank with them if you can't. I'd be more worried about banks that are debanking people based on political motives, or banks that are refusing to lend money to coal mines or traditional energy production, instead to unsustainable variable energy production. We need to get rid of this ESG garbage out of the banks. That's what we need to. Who cares if they close a few branches? It'll just mean more space for another bank to come in. Anyway. She would seek assistance of the Albanese government to ensure continuing delivery of banking services to the Australian community, especially in regional areas. The Morrison government did nothing to protect the public interest and maintain bank branches. They neglected this issue, and now more regional communities are facing a future without a bank. So we can see here where they're closing. Nerang and Rocky are losing their Westpac and Ashmore. They're the ones I know. Mandurah in WA, South Perth. So yeah, Wynnum's losing the NAB. What, are we losing any more Combanks? No, we're not. Let's have a talk about this one. I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm just not old enough to kind of go to the bank all the time. I'm not in a business where I need to deposit coins or cash anymore. I never really was. I think there's a few times I got paid in check, with checks from builders. That hasn't happened in forever now. Everything's online and remote. If I want to withdraw money, that's a special mission. I would recommend everyone has cash at home just in case you need it. And one way to do it, to hopefully reduce the chance of people stealing it if they break in, is a big pile of coins. Years ago, when we first had all the lockdowns and the hysteria, I went and flipped $500 just into coinage, and we're still working our way through that with pocket money for the kids and other little things. I've discovered Rachel's been stealing from the coin stash to get her chocolates. Oh boy, sometimes. But, there you go. So what do you reckon, everyone? Do you think it's an issue that the banks are closing branches? Should the government intervene and appease the unions? Or is it just what happens in business? If there's not a need for it, there won't be a need for it. let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content, you can financially support us via YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Is Bendigo Bank still, like the sexy new thing in banking where everyone goes to this cool bank? Oh, shit, that's probably like 10 years old now, 20 years old. It's all like the new neo.